Thank you so much for this ET for organizing this session. I have some very electric panel with me. We're missing one panelist. Apologies, he could not make it today, but I'm sure between Rajesh, Kiran, and Tushar, we should have an insightful discussion today on how brands are leveraging Omni-Channel to provide shoppers with incredible and frictionless experiences. So let me start off with you, Rajesh, since you're sitting first. Let's start in that order. So what's been happening in the recent times on the retail world? We've seen a lot of chatter on Omni-Channel becoming a big play in the retail world for all retailers, whether they were on purely the brick and mortar retailers adopting tech and becoming online alongside, and the online retailers getting into the offline world as well and setting up making inroads either with partnering or setting up their own stores. So what's happening from your perspective, from the overall retail market, as well as from your own brand's perspective in the Omni-Channel space in retail?
Thank you, Pankaj. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So interesting topic and interesting question, Pankaj. So first of all, let's understand what is happening in retail in general. So if we see in the last 4 or 5 years, retail has completely changed. The customers now, they are getting so many choices, A, from the distribution channel perspective, and B, from the brands and product perspective also, that they're full of choices now. The customers also are segmented into 2 different segments, I would say. One is that customer who wants to have ease and convenience and they would like to shop online. And there's another set of customer who still wants the complete experience of the brand and the shopping, and they would like to go out and they would like to shop. In fact, this second set of customers, post-COVID especially, they have been expanding like anything. I keep saying this, that now people don't come to malls and for high street places for shopping or for eating. They come here for socialization. Socialization actually is the new fashion, is what I say. They come, they meet people. Incidentally, they also shop, they also eat, they also go for cinema and other entertainment, etc. Between these 2 sets of customers, there is another set of customers who are combined of the 2 customers who also want to shop online and offline. However, all these 3 sets of customers, what they really want from shopping, especially fashion shopping, is they want seamless experience. They don't want to see a brand talking some other language offline and another language online. So we as a brand also, we believe in one brand, one voice. So our merchandise is exactly the same across the channels. Our pricing is exactly the same. Even during end of season sale, etc., when we run some promo or discounts, that's also exactly the same across all channels. Now coming back to this customers set and looking at their understanding about Omni and what they look for in one brand, one voice. So this customer does not come and form up its mind to buy something when it enters a physical shop or when it goes online. In fact, the customers have so much of exposure to internet and other devices that they would have researched about the product and the brand that they want to buy even before they go for actual shopping. Now, this is where the customer gets split. Once they have made up their mind about what product to buy, what brand to buy, they have 2 choices. Either they buy online, and if they want to buy online, they want to wait for a couple of days to get the merchandise at their place, and if they don't like, they would like to return it in a very easy manner. That is a different set of customer. The second set of customer, even if that customer has researched well and he has prepared, he or she has formed up on a particular product and a brand, and they decide to go to physical shop for this shopping. This is the customer who wants complete experience. This customer, when it goes to a physical shop, and if they like a product, once they wear the product or try it onto their body, and if they like it, they want to immediately own it. They don't want to wait even for an hour or 2 hours for the product to be delivered to their place. And this is where Omni-Channel comes into play. Omni-Channel, on one hand, is a great tool that retail industry has got, because If a customer earlier used to come to a store and he wouldn't find the right size or the color of its choice, they would just turn away. But now with the help of Omni-Channel, the retailer is able to provide them that product wherever they want it, whether at their home or at a different store or wherever they want it, that will get delivered. But as I said, linking these two things, that customer who is coming to the store does not necessarily want to wait for that product to be delivered. Otherwise, that customer would have bought it online anyway.
So you're saying it's becoming absolutely seamless. Your stores are becoming a lot more experience-led, but there is a lot of people who are still coming back to shop in stores because they're experiencing the product there. But you don't know where the customer's journey is starting, whether it is starting at home on the device or is starting in the store or ending up at the device. So it's becoming very seamless in terms of connectivity. And you're also seeing that the retailer is also able to, fulfillment is happening wherever the journey may be starting or ending.
100%, 100%. Though we know exactly the customer's journey doesn't start at the store or when they visit the online. So we know that the customer journey starts much earlier than that, and the retailers have to make their journey seamless. This is what most of the retailers are doing. We are also doing the same thing. But as I said, that as far as Omni-Channel is concerned, it has started its journey where all the inventories are mapped, the experiences are mapped. Even the CRM programs are seamlessly mapped for most of the retailers. Wherever you go, you get the same kind of CRM experience also. However, to pick up more about this, I think it will still take some time, about 3 to 5 years, when it will become completely seamless and the customer wouldn't mind whether they're buying online or offline.
Coming to you, Tushar, I remember when McDonald's opened up in India, I remember one of the first outlets was in Delhi, in a market in Vasant Vihar, and it used to be the big market where the cinema used to be there and people used to throng. When it opened up for the first few days, there used to be queues outside the store, and the whole of Delhi was sending their drivers and maids and stand in the queues in the heat to pick up burgers. I saw that happening when the BBW opened their store, the Bath and Body Works opened their store. There were queues of people lining up in the mall, but this time the queues was the people themselves waiting for half an hour, 45 minutes for the store to open and then getting into the store and shopping. And it was pre-COVID, so there was no restriction of rationing the number of people entering the store up to the capacity you can take in. That experience cannot be replicated anywhere, right? That experience, yes, brands like Bath and Body Works, McDonald's, or big global brands, or even some big brands when they open stores get that. But with the new wave of where the customer's journey, nobody knows where the customer's journey is starting. Somebody looks up following some brand or some influencer on Instagram and looks up at a great product which is being sponsored, or the brand's website or a brand's app, or it starts at the store and it ends at the brand store on the app, or he buys it online. You don't know where they're starting, where it is ending. But in today's experience, how are you able to build an experience, because you are online as well and through third party with your own thing as well, and you're doing so many retail stores of your own, and we've seen a big resurgence in terms of sales happening in retail in terms of the offline brick and mortar stores, particularly after post-COVID. How are you building that journey of the customer right from making it absolutely seamless so that they get the same experience on the ground?
Okay, thank you.
Or you still believe that it's still the experience is in the store always?
No, experience can be online and offline both. And I think the new experience is going to come from metaverse. So we are looking at that space also. So how we bring experience on metaverse. And let me correct you. The Bath and Body Works store, we opened at 2 in the afternoon and we closed at 12 midnight. And we had a 3-hour queue. So there was a 3-hour waiting.
So I thought it was 45 minutes.
No, it was a 3-hour waiting going all the way to the parking lot. I think the marketing, the brand is very well known. Right? And we have done this online. But there's no queue online. You can't physically see a queue, but you're waiting to buy the product and the product can be out of stock. And that happens during the Bath and Body Works annual sale or during some promotions that we do. So you can create the same experience online. The question is, it will be a little different than offline. Even in metaverse, we are saying, can we do something in metaverse where we can create an experience? And what is an NFT, right? You have to auction, you have to buy it, and then the prices go up. But you're creating that awareness, or you're creating that urge, or you're creating that excitement to buy. I think it's not only the product, it's also the experience. And one thing I can share with you in the store, right? We tell our people, when you come to a store, the music that is playing, the store ambience, the way the visual merchandise is done, is all impacts the customer, and the sales staff or the fashion consultant is able to explain to the customer and guide the customer. Does this look good on you? Do you think you need something else? Is a size fitting properly? There's a fitting room. It's a different experience. You have to create that online. Online also matters as a trust factor. If the influencer talks about it, if there are videos posted, how to use your makeup, what will look good, it gives you that confidence. Yes, I trust this person, I trust the brand, I want to buy. So the experience can be created anywhere. You just have to be very, very creative. And there are some things that we were looking to do because of COVID, online and offline. You have a limited deal, you have a limited time to buy a product for 1 hour, and we were able to sell like 5,000 pieces in that hour. You can do all those things. Right? You can create experiences. And when it comes to seamless, yes, the customer is expecting. That's the customer expectation, that if I buy something online, I can go in the store and exchange it. Or if I buy something offline, maybe I can call the store and say, I'm shipping it back to you. Because they might be traveling, or they have traveled from far, they can't come back to the store. The customers' expectations have gone up. They're saying, I'm your customer, I'm paying you. And we tell this in our company. The company doesn't pay us the salary, the customer does. When the customer is paying, that's your salary coming in. That's how we treat, right? We say, he or she is your customer, he or she pays your salary. Please focus on that, make sure they get a very good experience in the store, and we're always able to help them. Coming back to the seamless, this is what the customer is expecting. Question is, are we able to deliver it? Seamless, it is very difficult. When you talk omni-channel, it's a good buzzword, but how easy it is. I think it's very difficult to do. We have been working on it. We have been trying to do it. We still don't do pickup or deliver. You can exchange in the store. We will start that, but it will take a few months because my software has to be updated. Staff has to be well trained. We have to do QC checks in the store. We have to make sure that customer knows the timing of the store, and the staff has the details of the invoices, what was bought, when it was bought, what price it was bought. Can we also give them a cash refund in the store? Right? Customer will say, you know what, I paid you cash or credit card, I want a cash refund. You did a COD to me. So all these things will come across. In the long run, I think it's going to happen. The question is when, and the question is what software and which company will really push it. The other thing, Pankaj, as we were talking today, there are, I think one of the big fashion companies have started charging customers to return the product. They are saying we're going to charge you $5 or $10 to return in the store.
So if you bought online, you have in that brand we're talking about, if you buy it online today, it's a seamless thing. You can go actually return it in physical in the store. But in Europe, they started implementing and saying, you come to the store because using my infrastructure and I'm paying you back immediately or giving you a credit for it, you have to pay a charge for it. Yeah. So it's becoming, it's like Amazon started first free delivery. Now they're making it used to the idea of saying you have to pay for the delivery as well.
So if customer sees value in that, they will do it. And it is a customer who will say, there is value in this. There's value for me to go to the store. I'm already here. Let me pay the €5 and just give the stock back. Everything the customer sees is going to see, is there value? I'll do it. If there's no value, I will not do it. And in India, there are two kinds of customers like Rajesh. There are people who also come in the stores, and there are people who have never entered the stores, but they know about the brand, or they have seen it online, or they have seen it in a Bollywood movie, and they say, or this actor or influencer is wearing it, I want that product. They've never been to the store, right? And they might only buy online and even return it online. So you have to be very careful when you use the word omni-channel, because I think it is difficult. If anybody tells you it's easy, I would love to learn from them. We find it very difficult. We find it very difficult to implement the seamless thing. We are trying to figure it out. We are working on it. It's work in progress. Thank
So,
you.
Kiran, coming to you, and as Tushar mentioned that a matured business retailer, I know Tushar's, have been involved in this business in India for so many years. How many years, Tushar, now? 20 years?
So we started the company in 98
98.
in GCC.
GCC, 23 years experience with a matured market like GCC, then entered India with such big brands into India. Which is any new business or any new opportunity will always create those challenges, and I'll come back to them on as retailers what they face challenge. But before we get into the challenge side, although Tushar mentioned a few points, I want to understand from you, since you represent such a large business which is enabling this entire omni-channel journey, how are brands using this omni-channel strategies to drive customer engagement? Because as Tushar said, ultimately every business gets paid not their profit, but the employee salaries or anything it might be, or contribution to the whatever it is to be contributed, is because ultimately is the customer is the king, what they say, and is customer paying for it. So how is the brands leveraging technology, to drive customer engagement?
Thank you for the question. Am I audible? All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Pleased to be here. And I realize that a lot of the conversations going on are about here and now issues. So I'll take the liberty of perhaps also taking a look into what might be unfolding. But to your question on how brands are leveraging omni-channel to drive customer engagement, I would like to go back to a bit of consumer behavior as we are seeing it. At Google Cloud, we have the luxury of also looking at what trends and insights we see on the consumer side. So allow me to throw a few data points as well, right? We see about 600 million online users in India, of which about 450 million of them are what we call new to internet users. That doesn't mean they are first-time users, but they are new, as in they are just not as familiar as perhaps people in this room are, okay? And that 450 million is representative of digital transformation that is happening, not just in the urban areas, but in the tier 2, tier 3 landscape, where the purchasing power has grown phenomenally over the last few years. Comfort with the internet is growing. To us, the time that they spend online is no longer about the emotional need alone. It's also fulfilling a functional need. And a good example of a functional need in the retail business is buying something, right? Or making a payment for something. To us, that is saying a few things, okay? There's 450 million, at Google we call them the new internet users, or the NIUs. They're saying three things. The NIUs are telling us three things. One, talk to us in our language. So since your question was about engagement, it's about how you communicate with them. They're basically saying, talk to me in my language. Simply put, that's vernacular, okay? And our hypothesis is that, this is a hypothesis, that by the end of next year, of all the NIU cohorts that you will see in India, almost 70% will be interacting with the search engine or an online capability or a video user-generated content platform in vernacular. What that effectively is telling you is they would prefer to tap and not type. Okay, so that's a phenomenal amount of insight into how retailers want to build their brands. The second, they're basically saying, while I am new to internet, give me the time and familiarity to build my trust with you. So the brand exists in a certain space, but for the brand to percolate down and make meaningful, be meaningful and relevant will take some time. Now, again, I'll perhaps give some data points here. Generic searches that we have seen in the NIU space. For simplicity purposes, let's assume that that's hinterland India or the Hindi belt, okay? The generic searches that we have seen, and that is compared against brand searches, is still very high relative to the pan-India numbers for the same comparison. That again is a great opportunity for brands to build presence and familiarity. Make no mistake, the NIU is still very, very conscious. They are bargain shoppers, but they have aspirations, right? But this is a good starting point for brands to build presence and familiarity and breed loyalty in the hope that if they can deliver seamless experiences between the online and the offline world, there is a huge population of shoppers to be tapped into. And the third thing that we have noticed in the NIU space is that people are locally grounded. They are very intimately familiar with their local issues, but that doesn't mean they are not nationally connected. So they know what a brand influencer in Delhi, Mumbai, Calcutta, Hyderabad is wearing, consuming, and they sort of are the role models that they are aspiring to emulate. So these three things, in our opinion, is central to A, omni-channel strategy, and B, brands and retailers using them to drive engagement. We are a data company, right? We make no bones about the fact that Google understands behavior really well. That brings us to the heart of the issue. First-party data versus second-party data versus third-party data are no longer siloed. If you want to get to an omni-channel strategy, you've got to get a pulse of what first-party plus second-party plus third-party data is saying about your audiences, your likely demographic cohorts for your business to thrive. So to me, this engagement has multiple layers to it. As much as we see this in the context of urban, there is a massive wave that is brewing in what we call the NIU space. And I mean, NIU is not just tier 2, tier 3, but even the strata that perhaps resides in the urban geographies, but has the purchasing power and the intent to scale themselves up.
So, Kiran, that's from a customer standpoint, very insightful. But tell me, you, I'm sure, interact with both, the traditional businesses as well as digital businesses in your space. What is their strategy which each of them are adopting? Or is there a common theme between the two?
Not so pronounced yet in the Indian context, but globally
or globally, at least, we're good to understand what's happening globally per se, because whatever happens globally, we always follow downstream to countries like developing countries like India.
Sure. Between traditional retailers and, let's say, the new omni-channel or the e-commerce worlds, we see three common themes. The first one, a desire to build direct-to-consumer experiences. That can take the form of apps, it can take the form of a nice portal, whatever it is, but direct-to-consumer experiences. The second, which goes back to the point that I mentioned, is data and insights. There is no way that you can build a direct-to-consumer business without the second layer, which is data and insights. And the third, which is the bane of most omni-channel business models, supply chain. So these three, to me, are now coming across as common themes. We've seen this in markets outside of India, but we are beginning to see those three themes resonate even in the Indian context.
Great. When three of us was waiting for the session to start and we were chatting up and we were talking about omni-channel, Rajesh, and Kiran mentioned an important point of the common theme coming out is data, supply chain, and direct to consumer. So getting consumer insights in terms of building a direct channel to talk to the consumer. The second is obviously what you talked about is how do you reach out to the customer is based on certain data points which you get or insights which you build. And the third is supply chain. But you both were particularly, you and Tushar were talking about is there seem to be a lot of challenges which is there in all the way which you're going. So whether you go direct to a consumer and even if you have data as well, but you have supply chain issues. What are the kind of challenges which you face on the ground by running a business, now running a business which was always traditionally brick and mortar, making it digital and a transformation journey as well, and on the implementation side?
So Pankaj, I would talk about the challenges that Omni-channel is facing today. And there are practical challenges. I'm sure that in some time those challenges will get smoothed up, but currently they are all practical challenges, and challenges are both from the supply side and demand side and subsequently also. So when we look at it from the supply side, which means that when the customer is coming to buy something from your store or he buys online and you have to deliver it offline, the practical challenge in that is the malls, wherever we are present. they have started charging their variable rental on both the fronts, whether you are taking an advance from the customer at one store and when you're delivering it from the other store, the malls have started charging variable commissions there also. So this becomes a big
cost for you.
a big cost for all of us, and that becomes a deterrent also to a great extent. The second challenge that is a bigger challenge for most of the retailers when they implement omni-channel is twofold. At the time of returns, when the returns comes, as per the GST law in the country, you have to take the return at the same place from where the original billing was done. So it can't be a seamless. It got restricted because of the legal challenges in the country, but I'm sure that this will get smoothed out in some time to come. The second and the bigger challenge is in terms of return when it comes back to the store in case of omni-channel. If it comes back to the store, you have to first of all see that whether the quality is correct, which Tushar also mentioned that you have to have the QC right there. Now, it is not possible to have such high rental stores where you have a separate setup for each store where the QC is also sitting. And the bigger challenge subsequently comes about the reconciliations of the entire thing, of the financial reconciliation. So these are some of the challenges that most of the retailers are facing in case of omni-channel. From the supply chain perspective, I think it has got smoothed out to a great extent because of the online deliveries. Most online deliveries are catering to almost all the pin codes in the country wherever the shopping takes place. So the same delivery agencies, same logistics partners are able to take care of the supply chain for your omni-channel also. So I don't see that to be a very big challenge as we speak today. However, you have to ensure that your inventory is maintained at the optimum level, and it should not happen that you're selling it on omni-channel or online and the customer is ordering at one place and you have limited number of pieces. So if it gets sold at one places and currently omni-channel is not seamless, it takes a little time to dig into your inventory to see that what inventory is left out there. So it becomes a big challenge from supply chain perspective that if a customer has bought something at one place anywhere in the country and the other customer has also bought the same thing at some other place, whereas your inventory which is not seamlessly connected right now, it would sell to both the customers. So then it becomes a very big challenge. So currently, I think these are the challenges that omni-channel and online world is facing. However, having said that, I think these are initial hiccups which will get smoothed down in time.
Absolutely right. It's a new stage. We are entering into various stages of growth. So automatically, each stage of growth poses different challenges, and they keep getting resolved as we go by. But Tushar, one thing the theme is always there at the cost of doing business. Is how do you bring down the cost of doing business? I remember when the brick and mortar modern retail started in India, everybody said that the cost of doing modern retail in India, the cost was prohibitive because real estate cost was very high, and that continued. And the CAM operating charges were very high to put up a brick and mortar store. And then we said technology is going to solve it because technology and doing direct to consumer or doing online is much cheaper. But when everybody got into it, realized that the cost of doing business on technology platforms or doing business online and whatever we might say, that we may not have a physical store interaction, but there's a huge cost, particularly with the cost of returns. If you factor in last mile delivery, that it's a very expensive proposition. So what is going to happen? Is the cost going to become viable, or is it going to be one channel which is going to eventually, because the volumes will pick up, or how do you think this will pan out in terms of cost strategy or efficiency of running the business actually?
Okay, I'm
currently, I believe you lose money at times, right?
Where do you lose money?
You tend to lose money at times with online deliveries, right?
No,
because of returns and the others. At times, I'm saying on every specific shipment.
I will tell you what we do. I don't know what the industry does, right? Yeah. We don't lose money. We are not in the business of losing money. We are here to make money. We are very clear on that, right? Any business that we do, yes, you do lose money in the beginning up to a certain point. So everybody has a break-even point. You can't make money the day you start your business. So I'll give you the period like what we look at. Our philosophy or thinking is very different. The first thing I want to tell you, the productivity in India, I'm saying India overall, is one of the lowest compared to where we come from or where I come from. And the cost of retail or even the cost of real estate in India is very high. And sometimes it does not justify the amount that you're paying and what you're getting in India. When I talk about real estate, so it's not only retail, it's real estate in India is expensive, right? But if I want cheap real estate and I go to a very cheap location or where the rentals are lower, the productivity is not there. And I can give you one example. There are stores that we operate outside India, which would be equal to 15 stores of India. Of my same brand, 15 stores, one store will do that business because the productivity is high. So we have to remember that the productivity is high. It does not justify the rentals that they are being charged, but this is India, right? You have limited space. The size of the small malls are small, and there are a lot of international brands and local brands who want to come in. Now, if you look at it, we also look at e-commerce players getting into retail. So there are e-commerce players opening retail stores because they are doing fashion or they are doing beauty, and everybody started opening retail stores. And this is now when it comes to the cost of doing business online, right? I will give you a simple example. That's how we tell our team how we are doing the business, where the cost is high and the cost is low. And this is where omni-channel also becomes expensive. And that's the reason we do omni-channel, but we do with very few stores. We don't do omni-channel across all our stores. And currently we are not, customers cannot come and exchange in the stores. We are trying to figure that out. But we do deliveries from the store. One challenge of doing deliveries from the store, you break up sometimes the customer orders 2 products. One is in the store, one is in the warehouse, or one is in a different city in a different store. Then you're giving the customer 2 shipments. The experience is bad. They want 1 shipment. And the cost of those 2 shipments is also high. And we don't know, sometimes 2 products will come back or 1 will come back. So that managing the stock cost is. Let's look at a retail store. Okay, and I'll give you, I prefer to explain by example where it's easy for me to.
Well, absolutely, it's always good to.
I would say I have one retail store. I'm just throwing numbers here, right? Saying let's say it's doing 1 crore a month, right? One retail store. The same brand, my online will be doing 3 to 4 CR a month, online. I have 15 retail stores, but not all of them do 1 CR. One retail store, I need 14 people, depending if I'm doing 1 CR business, depending what brand it is. 14 people. I pay the landlord the rent or the minimum guarantee. I do marketing for that store. The store will be closed on certain days. Store will be closed when there are national holidays or when there are elections or anything, or there's a flood or there's Holi. The store could be closed for certain festivals, and you close it. And the store is not operational 24 hours. Store opens at 10, closes at 11. Doing 1 CR. And then I look at my online business, doing 3, 4, 5 CR a month. One brand, same brand. Operating from one warehouse. I operate from one DC. 7 people running the brand, because there are 7 people in the warehouse packing, picking, or 10, 15 people, whatever. It's doing equal to 14, it is equal to 5, 6 stores of my business. The cost is very different. I'll tell you where the cost is high. The cost is high in the customer acquisition for the marketing. This is what is killing everybody. So if I want to acquire a customer today, I might be spending in the beginning to tell the customer, listen, I'm online, please come and shop from me, I will do this. So my cost of operation or marketing could be anywhere between 14 to 25%. And if I'm in the game of valuation, where the top line, bottom, only the top line matters, bottom doesn't matter, I could be doing 40, 50%, not a problem, right? But realistically 40 to 18, 20, it can go down to 12, right? It can go down to 8 also. My retail cost of marketing is much lower. That's where the major chunk goes in customer acquisition for that. The third thing where people lose money, and we don't do cash on delivery. Because cash on delivery, when you do, you get 40% returns. And the shipping going and the customer sending it back, we want to make sure that the product is gone. If the product is all okay, yes, we do exchange products. We do exchange products. If there's a size mismatch or if there's something that's wrong or the customer changes his mind, we are okay with that. That returns is much lower than cash on delivery returns. Cash on delivery return, the customer expects today, tomorrow morning, I want the product. It is very difficult, and if it reaches into the customer, he or she has changed the mind. Now I don't need the product, but party is over, now I'm not in the mood, I spend the cash somewhere else. But when you're doing credit card payments or prepayment, you want the product. Yes, you will tell me you want it faster, but you're committed to buying. So that's a big cost. That's where people lose money. Marketing, but the cost of operating online is much lower if your sales productivity is much higher online when you look at it per store. So I do 3 stores, I'll have 30 people. I do 3 store sales, I have 10 people.
And eventually when
And
the
sorry, one more
customer
thing,
base
there is no capital expenditure. I do stores, we do stores that cost me between 2 CR per store, and then the new store we'll open will cost me 12 to 13 CR a store, just to build. And I'm leasing and I'm not even buying it.
In fact, just to add, Pankaj, so typically I completely agree with what Tushar says because we also have exactly the same model that Tushar has. On our website, we earn more money as compared to for a physical store, and the reasons are exactly what Tushar says. But however, just to add here, it perhaps also varies from the positioning and the category that you are in. So Tushar and I, we deal in premium categories where the pricing is or the product is high. So even if you, let's say, end up paying about 100 rupees or 150 rupees for delivery, in terms of percentage, it's relatively much smaller as compared to paying the occupancy charges in the store. However, if your product itself costs about 500 rupees or 300 rupees, you will have to pay the same delivery charges of 100 and 150 rupees. Then it becomes a very big percentage of your top line. So then it becomes very, very damaging.
Yeah, but then probably it's all about building scale. Once you have built scale and done the customer acquisition, then you're not spending so much on marketing and you have built large scale, then probably the omni-channel becomes a larger, big story according.
No, actually, as I said, if the pricing is lower, the delivery cost will still remain the same, whether you have a larger scale or a smaller scale. So then for...
but in the premium brand segment?
Premium, yes, of course. So then it makes huge sense to do omni-channel and online there.
So Kiran, coming to you last on this specific thing. I know you represent Google Cloud and, one of the largest data companies in the world. As you rightly said yourself, we are a data company. So how's Google Cloud leading the e-commerce players on their journey of transformation? And what are the capabilities that make them as a preferred choice? And not only e-commerce, I would say how even offline retailers like Tushar and Rajesh and their businesses make use of Google Cloud. So can you give us a summing up of your business?
I think it's also important for me to respond very quickly to what Rajesh said. And there are 4 things that we look at from an omni-channel perspective, and everything that we do from a technology perspective is addressing those 4. I'll touch upon the one that you mentioned, inventory. The first thing that we would like to see in omni-channel get sorted is inventory transparency. If there is no inventory transparency, the model fails. Number 1, supply. Number 2, supply chain. Number 3, a tech backbone that is yours, because you are building a business for tomorrow. You need to have your tech. And number 4 is make sure that your supply chain strategy is in sync with your marketing strategy, because the perceptions that you build with your customer falls apart when the supply chain doesn't match up to it, right? So 4 things. Now, looking at the solutions that we do from a technology standpoint, 4 areas that touch various parts of the consumer life cycle. The first one, making sure that you are able to build product discovery. Something as simple as search, something as simple as a visual search, right? That's the first one. And they all are aimed at, in some measure of speaking, managing the acquisition costs. The second is basically engagement with the customer, right? A good example of a technology there is customer data platforms. And I would seriously urge looking at CDP as a vehicle to manage the engagement process. Number 3 is conversion. can I build a recommendation engine based on AI and ML that powers this D2C capability, both in store and online? And fourth is supply chain, right? The word supply chain is figured repeat repetitively, but to me, that is really the heart of the matter.
Great. Thank you so much. I know we are running out of time. Really appreciate Kiran, Tushar, and Rajesh for your insights. I know there are some challenges which are still to be ironed out, but I think those challenges are for a brighter future on the omni-channel business, which will get sorted out as we pave way. There's some legislation challenges like GST. There are some supply chain challenges, and there's some cost of investments which may not be justified today. And I think Kiran added very well that it will. There are companies like themselves who are available to help build on those and solve those challenges. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. Thank you.